Turn up the microphone here. Turn off the overlays. Good morning let's get the clock out of the way. And so many things that got to happen here to make this this stream, this not very professional stream work. Good morning, everybody. And I wish you all the best and most positive morning of your day, of your week, of your life. Just let's all come together and let's focus on, what I'm trying to do is get us all to focus on sort of positive energy and a way for us to deal with some issues that we're all concerned about. And we're going to focus on acknowledging all the freedoms that we have while working to expand to greater freedoms for all of us. And it's just a matter of getting all the normies and everybody that we know and love in our lives on board. And I think we're on our way to doing that. I see a lot of good signs in the work. Let me just turn down the gain here. I really, I joke when I say I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know. I can produce a podcast and edit a podcast and all that sort of stuff. But all this live streaming stuff, this is all new to me. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We got Locals, Instagram, and Encoder, which is YouTube, and everybody else. If you want to post a comment, then put it in the comment box. I'm just going to pull it up, which sometimes it goes missing and I don't see the comments. Hey, good morning, Sonia. Thank you for being here. And morning, BJ. Oh, hey, Rampart. Good to see you, brother. Rampart is on Twitter. He hosts a number of spaces. We've done some spaces together, and I like him to be very measured in his tone. It's not bombastic. It's not left versus right. It's us finding common ground and speaking on issues intellectually without going after each other, going after each other's throats. And we need some more of that. And that doesn't mean we don't have necessarily firm opinions, but that does mean we're willing to listen to people who have very differing opinions. And he's been great with that. So, props to you, brother. Good morning. Hitchhiker, Keith. Wow, lots of people coming in. Love you guys. Aunt Beth, how you doing? Susanna. Susanna's up again? Es muy temprano. Susana hace las 6 en la mañana ahora. But anyways. Okay. So good morning to all of you, and let's focus on the positivity, the positive state. We're going to talk about some difficult issues today, and but they're important issues, and we're going to try to put the positive and strength frame about it. That's why I put the title in here, and I think if we do that, we're going to progress and go a little bit further in what we're trying to achieve, sort of thing, right? Please like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're on. I greatly appreciate it. There's more and more people getting involved, so I greatly appreciate your support. Don't hesitate to put comments in the live chat. I think this one, if you do it on Twitter or Facebook or all that stuff, I think it all aggregates into one window here. At least that's what I'm trying to get done. And then Locals is separate here. And Quirky Fish, good morning. Quirky Fish is in the U.S. on Instagram. So, but thank you all for being here. Honkingforfreedom.locals.com. That's kind of the community that I and a few others helping me are trying to build out. We got a number of people following us there. And then on my Substack, BJdichter.substack.com. It is going to get spicy, I promise, and because there's a lot of things going on right now even, and we're right around that 100,000 subscriber threshold for email subscribers on Substack. So if you haven't subscribed, it'll make me feel better. And you'll feel better because you'll have done a favor for somebody. So if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead. So, quick review topic before we get. There's two things I really want to talk about, but I want to go into this review topic, which is it's esoteric, and the more research we do, the more we get into it, the more we find, the more concerning it becomes. But it is what it is. Battery low, great. I finally have good sound on, oh my God, I finally have good sound on locals because I'm using this device and now it just tells me the battery's low. So I guess midway through, locals, sorry, I don't have a splitter yet. I'm trying to figure it out. So it will get better, I promise. Okay. So on the topic of sabotaging the Freedom Convoy, which we've spoken about over these streams, and I think I might pen a Substack article on this. I haven't decided yet for sure. But just a few things, we're going through all the events as we're putting the book together. That in order to do the book, which is not going to be a boring textbook and chronological, it's amazing. It's quite entertaining. We're maybe 80% there on the rough draft manuscript, which we're a little bit behind, but it'll be out before Christmas. But in that endeavor, we're going through all the emails, the critical dates, lining them up with the interviews. Because for me, it was just one big long day. Every day was the same, and it was a blur. It was waking up in the morning. Somebody's called a press conference who we have no idea who they are to speak on our behalf, and we don't know who they are. So the first was a couple of hours trying to figure out who was trying to take over messaging that day. And me trying to go through all the various email messages, text, and Twitter messages, which there were honestly thousands. And I couldn't get through everybody, but I tried to aggregate them in a way that I would get to the largest swath of people as possible. And then by 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, once the other guys got up and got coffee and brought it in, then panic would ensue because there were, 20 different problems and nobody could get a hold of X person. We couldn't get a hold of Tamara, or we couldn't get a hold of one of the people on one of the teams, or there was a team meeting in one of the hotels and there were 3 different opinions and they've decided to go the opposite direction of yesterday, like that sort of thing. Like, it was really... it was quite interesting. But so on a specific topic around the potential for sabotage of the Freedom Convoy, if somebody sabotaged it. I spoke a few episodes ago about, can one person in a very minor role actually have a massive effect on a large institution, large organization board, in this case, like a large protest. And, I brought up the examples of Edward Snowden, right? Edward Snowden didn't even work for the government. He was definitely a minor player, but look how much damage he caused to the United States reputation, the reputation of its military, whatever. Chelsea Manning. I don't remember Chelsea Manning's name was before, but it doesn't matter. Did Chelsea Manning, who played a very insignificant role in the military, did Chelsea Manning have a negative effect on the U.S. government and the U.S. military? And I would argue that, yeah, pretty devastating. And I also gave the example of Daniel Ellsberg, that he had a small role. He's a journalist. I mean, there you go. By definition, on the beat journalist is a small role. Yet look how much damage a capable journalist, can cause, just in life and in government in general. Right. This is why we used to go to them. Good morning. I got to go back and forth between locals and YouTube and all this sort of stuff. So I'm trying to monitor everybody's comments. Polarize the world they did. Yeah, definitely. And but I think it's also a lot more than that too, but for sure. So on a specific issue around, I mentioned that certain things changed on certain dates. And there was one trajectory we were going on, and then all of a sudden things changed, and there was, there were a whole lot of egos in Ottawa. There's no shortage of egos, not just from politicians. And people thought they knew best, right? And it wasn't some of us were just concerned about keeping all the truckers safe and ensuring that nothing negative arrived from it, and keeping everybody in the state of positivity and not slipping into anxiety, because that's when you would find the potential for violence. I think, we did a good job. That's what I wanted to really focus on. That was my primary focus. But so imagine this. We're in Ottawa. We have the protest. All the truckers are parked where the city of Ottawa and the Ottawa police told us to park, by the way. They think they're going to just throw that under the rug and bury it. No. The trucks were parked where the city told us to park, right? Because the idea was the team that was on the ground in Ottawa was there to ensure that it was safe for everybody, of course, and that emergency vehicles could still navigate the city with minimal disruption or no disruption at all. So, and this had started a week before the first trucks came in. So all the trucks were staged in a way that there was minimal obstruction to the city of Ottawa. And, the few liberal activists with the theatrics, I can't hear. Like, dude, the trucks are nowhere near where anybody lives. They're near Parliament Hill. They're not near any apartment buildings. Like, it's crazy. I think there was one or two trucks that spilled over into some residential neighborhood. And all the residential neighborhoods. Like, people in Ottawa are just so full of shit. Sorry. I just got to say that. K9, 100% they were. The email exchange proves that. Yeah, not just the email exchange, but there was also there's a city council meeting exactly outlining that they're working with the truckers to ensure everybody's parked and safe in a certain area. So they told us where to go. But yet somehow, after the first week and a half, all of a sudden, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, people started moving trucks around. And I remember, you had to understand the amount of volume both myself, Tamara, everybody was dealing with in terms of problems, requests, whatever. All of a sudden, the trucks were and I remember I raised this concern. I said, why are you moving trucks? Why would you do that? Like, we're parked where the city told us to be, and everybody's chill, everybody's peaceful. Why would you start moving trucks? Why would you do that? And it was very interesting, those conversations that, whatever, we'll have to. Anyways, we're going to get more into that in detail over time. But the point is, despite my objections, some people who felt that all of a sudden they showed up to Ottawa, they're in charge, started moving trucks around, which I think resulted in it being easier for the police to kettle the trucks. I think that's ultimately what happened. But anyways, the trucks were being moved, and then, and I wasn't told this, there was a lead negotiator that went to meet with the city. And I remember I was told, let's, why don't you, I was told that they're going to go meet with the city and talk to them. And my response was, why? Why would you do that? That's not how negotiation works. No, they come to us. Why would you do that? And I don't know. The response I was given was stupid, and it didn't make any sense. And I kind of parked it in the back of my head, saying, "Wait, something's up here." And that lead negotiator, I eventually found out who it was, and I went nuts. I went crazy, and they knew if they told me who that lead negotiator was, I would lose my mind. I would tear their fucking head off if they had told me. So they kept it all very, very quiet. These people who just showed up and decided that they were in charge. Like, it was, again, there was only so much. I think locals, the sound is going to go not quite as good as it is now. I apologize. So anyways, we were... there's so much. This is why you're going to have to all read the book. And there may be now a second book, given all this research that's we've been going through. There may be potential for a second book because it's really quite nuts and it doesn't end. DJ Satoshi, good morning, brother. Another Twitter space friend. Redpart agreed. Players on the site, King Boy, for example. Yeah, that had nothing to do with it. We were trying to get rid of, the first day that Tamara left Alberta, she was in the truck and she called me about this Pat King guy. I never heard of this guy. I have no idea who he is. And somebody sent me a link, and I called her back and I said, "Get rid of this guy. Just send him home. Is he a trucker? No. What the fuck's he doing there? Get rid of him. Send him home. Like, he's going to get you into trouble. This is an idiot." Despite the fact that he seemed to be regurgitating some talking points from Mein Kampf and doesn't understand the difference between an Anglo and a Saxon. But why is that guy even there? But anyways, that'll come up. We'll get more into that in more detail. So, the truck, and the other thing was that this lead negotiator was negotiating moving the trucks. The truckers didn't want to move. Nobody wanted to move. There was no reason to. Why? All the emergency vehicles could get around. It was a party every weekend. We would all I would get up on stage. I was on crutches, and I would go to the stage, and they would lift me up and hobble, and I'd thank everybody for all the sacrifices they made and coming out to us, and like all the love and support. Like, it was amazing. It was an amazing vibe. Oh, and also, the fake news didn't like. I did the first 2 times. I don't remember if I did it on the third speech I gave, because I was completely doped up on Deloitte, and I think I mentioned that because I had just had surgery. So I don't know what I was saying. But the first 2 times, I gave concrete examples of fake news stories in legacy media and why they're fake. And we all, tens of thousands of us had a laugh together. It was really great. So the lead negotiator came in and started moving trucks around, and, it was so opaque. So it was difficult for many of us to see what was going on. Because we're all in our different prospective command centers. But the thing is, who gained, and I talked about this in another stream, who gained the most by having the convoy dispersed? Because think about it. Was it the truckers? Well, no, obviously. The truckers just wanted an end to the mandates and an end to the Arrive Can app. That's it. That's all. If that was done, everybody turns around, goes home, and that's it. Life goes back to normal. Everybody goes home. Thank you, Sonia. I promise the book is amazing. But it's not what people think. It's going to be much better than that. It didn't benefit the truckers to have it sabotaged, obviously. Did it benefit Trudeau? Well, yes and no, because Trudeau is a laughingstock on the world stage now, right? Nobody takes him seriously. Like, we all knew what he was before he got into office. Now it seems the entire world can see, the emperor has no clothes now. Everybody knows what he is. He's a veiled communist with very, very shallow understanding of history and philosophy. And he doesn't even make the decisions, right? We know it's the extremists around him that actually run PMO, and he just goes along because he likes the lifestyle. But he has no clue the implications of what he's doing. It's too complex for him. So I don't know that it was Trudeau. What about Doug Ford, right? Because if you remember, Doug Ford and Jason Kenney both had border closures. And I think at one time somebody told me there was up to 120 points of entry in Canada that were blocked by farmers, by people, by fisheries, and by truckers, right? Because everybody got inspired by Ottawa and in their region started doing their own thing and having their own protests. So Jason Kenney and Doug Ford both had border closures that were all over the legacy media, and we know those morons in politics, all they look at is legacy media. That's the only people who watch fake news, by the way. People in politics and journalists, nobody else watches it. And the numbers seem to prove that. I had an interesting conversation with Jordan Peterson about that 2 weeks ago. He was telling me a very, very funny story. I'll ask him if I have permission to share it. I'm sure it is, but if so, I'll talk about it. So Doug Ford got reelected despite the second lowest turnout, voter turnout in Ontario history. He got to defer all the blame to Trudeau, right? As did, I guess, Kenny, because he filed some sort of lawsuit against Trudeau. It was in Doug's jurisdiction, right? Ottawa is in Ontario, and Doug Ford is the premier of Ontario, so it was in his jurisdiction. Now, I'm not saying that Doug Ford himself came in and sabotaged the convoy. But if you knew who the lead negotiator was, which is likely to come out, you might start to question that because, it's really concerning, and the network that was operating is. So I guess I just spilled it's not just one person. I mean, it's a hybrid between the two, but it's absolutely astounding, you know. Are there people that are kind of higher up pulling the strings, right? Like, was it, politicians themselves, or are there people in this world who are more powerful than politicians? Well, yeah, of course there are, right? Of course there are. And once you're in politics and you see a little bit behind the scenes, you understand how it works. There's a rule in politics. This is how you know they're all morons. And when I say morons, I say 90% of people in politics are complete fucking morons. Because they have this attitude. The wealthiest person who walks in the room is the smartest person. That's their frame. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely crazy that, but you can see it over and over and over again when you go to different events and you go to, fundraisers or whatever. The smartest person, the wealthiest person makes the decisions. And it's just kind of like I know some very, very wealthy people and have known some very, very wealthy people my entire life. And yeah, some of them are quite bright and astute business-wise. Some of them are complete dumbasses and say some of the stupidest things you've ever heard. And I'm one of the few people in the room that will call them out on it, which is why some people respect me, because I don't care. I just don't. You say something stupid, I'm going to say, hey, listen, that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So, anyways, just the whole idea of who was this negotiator? Why were they moving trucks? What was the motivation for doing that? I think that's going to become a very, very important question moving forward. And I encourage all of you to think about it and discuss that. And the funniest part was I found out people were blaming me. I'm like, what? I'm just the guy going on TV, man. Like, what do you want from me? You can't do everything, right? Like in the aviation, they have this idea, cockpit resource management. I always had it in businesses as well that, you hire somebody to do a job, you hire somebody who, let's say, is operations manager, you got to trust that person to be operations manager and you focus on your tasks. Because if not, then you're stepping on each other's toes and you're micromanaging, which is exactly how people in politics are, by the way, because that's why they could never cut it in the private sector. So anyways, just a thought exercise. It's something to talk about. Rampart, maybe this is something to bring up in spaces and start getting people's minds thinking and going back and critically analyzing what was occurring, because there's a lot more than what people think, that was happening behind the scenes. Okay. Next, I want to talk about something that happened on August the 28th. There was an accident in BC in rural BC in the interior. There were 3 truckers that they were. I don't know the entire circumstances. They're still under investigation, but it seems to be the trucks. 2 trucks crossed the median in a 2-lane highway. And there was a head-on collision, and the trucks instantly burst into flames, and the drivers were all 3 drivers are deceased. And, it's so weird to know that the trucking industry or to be a trucker is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world today, in terms of, data analysis, micromorts, number of deaths, that sort of thing. That there are a lot of people in the industry who are killed. And despite all the efforts to increase safety and things have gotten better, but it's up there. It's either the most dangerous or one of the most dangerous, but I think if I remember correctly, it's the top. In this particular accident, it hit home with me because one of the truck that Tanner was driving, one of the deceased, that is basically my brother's truck, slightly different, but basically the same thing. And I looked at it, and it's just like, I don't know, I've been on those 2-lane highways. I try to avoid them, to be entirely honest. I try to be on interstates as much as possible because I'm usually in the U.S. And but I saw the circumstances, saw the article, and read about them. So the 3 deceased are Tanner Liefting, who is 25 years old, and he's from Chilliwack, BC. Brandon Richard Johnson, who is also of Chilliwack, BC, apparently, and Jagsir Singhil, who was 34 and from Calgary. And so there are a couple of GoFundMe for the 2 of them. I've donated to them yesterday. I couldn't find a GoFundMe for Jagsir, but I did find them for Tanner and Richard. And it looks like Tanner had a couple of kids that are, I think, the age of 5 and younger, if I'm not mistaken. And I was going through their Instagram accounts last night and seeing the videos of their kids, and just not too much, but there's not too many videos there. Trucker, you're driving a lot, you don't really have the time to post a lot on Instagram. But it's I don't know, I found it difficult to watch. I really did, because you gotta feel for these people whose the rug has been pulled out from underneath them, and their life has been completely changed. And you can't imagine what they have to deal with and how they're gonna have to move forward. And I was once told the biggest tragedy in life is when a child dies before their parent. And this is another example of it, but also, there are grandchildren involved in this. So I would just encourage everybody to, if you could, I've put the links in the YouTube description. I can put them in the locals after. I can't do them before I go live. But just take a look at the circumstances, and if it touches you and you want to support them, then by all means go ahead. And I already had somebody say, "Oh, they're using GoFundMe." Like, you know what? Let's put the politics aside for a second. There might have been greater issues on the minds of the families when they were trying to figure out how to pay for the funerals and how to move forward. So let's throw that garbage away and just think about those families and everybody involved. And if you want to support them, I encourage you to support them, because there's when you're the outsider, like, I don't know these people. I know some of the friends of friends, and they were supporters and believers in the convoy and the whole mandate of getting our securing our freedoms and coming together and loving one another. And as you see people going through strife, like, it's always frustrating, because you figure, well, what can you do, right? And yeah, we can all get sad. And last night when I was I was putting these notes together, and watching those kids' videos, that was difficult. But what do you do? And I think there's a couple of things you do. You focus on helping if you can, because that's the best that you can. And you focus on the strength. So like in my, I don't talk too much about, my background, but in my tradition, we have what's called a Shiva House. So somebody dies, the home of either the deceased or next of kin or close family, somebody opens up their home 24/7 for a week for anybody to come by and pay respects. And the idea is just to be together. It's not even necessarily, you go to Shiva houses and you amaze after a couple of days, they start talking about, what's happening at work. Obviously the deceased is on everybody's mind, but they talk about moving forward and how to move forward and what are the solutions to the predicament they're in now, whether it's financial or not, and how the community can come together and help one another. And that to me is a sign of both love and strength, that you're not trivializing what the next of kin is going through, but they're sad enough as they are. They need some strength. They need some support. They need somebody or a group of people to lend a hand and to explain to them or just to help guide them in whatever they need to move forward. And I think that's important. That's why whether it's GoFundMe or another platform, doesn't really matter. The fact that you're throwing some support their way, it not only helps them, but I think it helps you too. It's that sense of you're extending a sense, almost a sense of gratitude, or at least you're in that state of mind of gratitude, and that's going to make things get better quicker, I think. I mean, things will never be the same, of course, when people go through tragedy like this. They'll never be the same. But I just think that's like, I look at these initiatives, people get criticized all the time. Oh, they put up a fundraiser, they put up this. Well, much like the Freedom Convoy, it wasn't about the money. The money was the vote. It's the same in this scenario. It's not about the money. This is you showing gratitude, support, and love. We know it's going to be so difficult for them to move on. We're all on the opposite side of the country. It's not like we could be there with them. Like, I don't know them. I know friends and friends of friends of theirs. But if they had been here, if I was able to see them, I would have gone to a memorial. The funeral service, by the way, I believe for Tanner for sure, and I think for BJ, which is ironically the nickname that Brandon used, Rick or BJ apparently. I believe both of their funeral services are on Saturday. I could be wrong about that. So if you are in BC, take a look, maybe reach out to the families, how you can support them. This is how we heal. We got to help support those people and be that source of strength. And this is why strength is also, in certain circumstances, it's a form of love. And I think that embodies all the ideas of what the Freedom Convoy was about. And the last thing is, in terms of, everybody will do who was responsible for the accident, who crossed the median, whatever. And it might not have been either of them. It could have been, I see often in a truck where somebody in, four-wheeler, a car, is weaving in and out of traffic and causes one of the trucks having to, avoid a collision with that car or another car that's been confused by that person and ends up, in the path of another truck. Maybe something, that's why you never, ever, ever cross a double median, a double solid line on a 2-lane highway. But who's at fault? Does it really matter? I mean, I look at it this way, and I remember reading this in a book a while back. Maybe some of you will know the reference, but I like this this way of looking at it. You know, we all meet people, we're very quick to judge. You know, somebody cuts us off, somebody says something rude to us, something whatever, and we just automatically put them into the box of, oh, that person is an a-hole. Well, you don't know. I mean, maybe that person's father just passed away, or maybe that person just found out they're getting a divorce or had some other tragedy in their life. Like, you never know. We're emotional creatures, and we get affected by both positive and negative things. So I like this idea of don't judge people by their mistakes, judge them by their accomplishments, and then how do they respond to their mistakes, right? And I think that's a perfect way, you know, we talk about, well, we won't get into politics right now. That's a little cheapy. But I think in general, that's a good salient way to look at it, is what have people accomplished? And we're all going to make mistakes. We all do. I do too. I make them on a regular basis. You do as well. But it's how do we acknowledge those mistakes and what accomplishments have we made in our lives? And I think that's a good frame to be in. And then there's the other thing that I always look at is the people in life. I mean, it's not a binary thing. It's more of a spectrum. But who are the givers and who are the takers? Which ironically leads me back to this sabotage of the Freedom Convoy, because that's a very good way to look at it, is who are the givers and who are the takers there, because I think there's a lot more. Anyways, I know I didn't do justice to Tanner and Brandon, BJ, Rick, and to Jagseer. I'm sorry to everybody, your families, your children, your parents. It sucks. We all know, and a lot more of us have been emotionally impacted by it than you realize. So when they say everybody's grieving with you, yeah, more than you know. But you have a lot of people around you who are going to help you, who are trying to help you and support you and move on with your life. And we wish you and your children all the best, and you and your families all the best. And you have a lot. It seems to be you have a lot of shoulders to cry on, and that the funeral will be very large, as it is whenever funerals. It is always the case whenever people are young. So it's horrible. So please be good to your truckers on the road. Don't cut in front of them like what happened to me 3 times yesterday, and ride the brakes. Respect the fact that when a truck is on the road, it has one direction it can go, straight. That's it. That's the only direction it can go. If there's any sort of problems on the highway, and it does not stop nearly as quick as the rest of you. So that is a freight train on the road, and you want to keep as far away from it as possible. So our prayers are with everybody, and yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. So help everybody out. Go give a donation. If you can't afford give a donation, send a comment, send your love. Tell them that you're thinking about them, and they're not the only ones who have perished in these sorts of incidences on the road. But send some comments, send some love. And today, be extra good to people. Be extra good to the person in the coffee shop, at the gas station, at the grocery store. That's how life is going to improve. If we're extending our gratitude to everybody else, you know what? It's going to come back in spades. So, yeah. And support our truckers. Agreed. Rampart, thanks for coming, brother. Thank you for everybody. I see there's a bunch of comments on there, and a lot of love and a lot of thank yous to the family, and be kind to everybody. And let's make that the identity of Canada moving forward, because according to our leaders, Canada doesn't have an identity. And I think compassion can be our number one identity. Okay, I got to run. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. We'll talk to you.